the crowd.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 2015 WCS Season 2 Premier League for StarCraft II. My name is Smix and with me I have a familiar face, Greetorp. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, super excited about this WCS, very clearly. You know, I've just been anticipating it. I got to cast the challengers, now I'm over here at the round of 32 for Premier League. Super excited about this group.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you again because, you know, you were around in the beginning of StarCraft II, then we haven't seen you for a little bit.
A little bit, right?
But now you're back, and what is it like to be back after?
Oh, it's great. I mean, like, the matchups have really evolved into something really beautiful. Of course, we've seen some changes recently with some updates, Storm Host, etc. But I think, like, playstyles are just so cool as of late, and I'm having a lot of fun with StarCraft.
Well, speaking of the games that you're looking forward to, we will have the round of 32 taking place over the next few weeks. We'll have groups A and B played this weekend, as well as groups C and D next. Of course, all of that will be taking place here in the Burbank studio. The last 4 groups will take place in our studio over in Cologne, Germany. But of course, today is all about Group A. Now, looking at this group, of course, the first player that stands out to me is Bunny, but what are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. Bunny, I mean, he's been on a tear. This guy has been traveling the world. He just came back from DreamHack, and he has just been producing some of the best StarCraft that the foreign scene has really seen in a very long time. We haven't seen that dominance from way back when Stefano was in his primes, but still, we are seeing a glimmer of hope in the foreign scene.
Well, the rest of the players in this group aren't to be scoffed at either. Obviously, we saw Kane most recently at the WCS Season 1 finals, and Petraeus has been just tearing through things in the online tournaments, and of course, Jim is a very famous name from China. And for all of you at home who want to know more about these players, we do have a video prepared for you guys, so let's take a look.
Tonight, WCS Season 2 Premier Round of 32 kicks off with Group A. Group A showcases a star-studded lineup featuring Invictus Gaming's Jim, the Chinese Protoss powerhouse.
Jim 4-1 out of his group.
My Insanity's Kane, Round of 8 finisher in Season 1 and Canada's strongest serve.
But there you go, GG. Kane is able to take the series.
Arguably the best foreigner right now, Team Liquid's Bunny.
Liquid Bunny absolutely runs away with this game.
Lastly, one of the leading foreigners ranked 5th on the Ligulac, My Insanity's Petraeus.
Petraeus, what a beast. What an excellent game from him.
Group A will be exciting, being one of the most closely contested groups of the round of 32.
You know, that voice on that video sounds a little familiar.
Pretty
Andre.
good, right?
I know, yeah, I was pretty
I
impressed
feel
with
like
that.
it's pretty good. You know, I really feel like it is going to be one of the most closely contested groups of the round of 32. These guys are so close in skill level, I would say, and I think a lot of people would be surprised for me to be saying that.
And speaking of the players in this group, we will be starting with our first match of the day with Jim and Kane. Now, these two players, it's very interesting because I would say they're opposites in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to Edison actually a little bit before. We're starting with Jim. You know, Jim is the type of guy that, you know, he's not really loudly spoken like some of the other guys in the scene. Kane, I would say, is one of the opposites. Also, Jim, you might look and say like, oh, he's in his 20s, he's 19 years old. He's a really young kid, man. Like, he's just getting into the scene, getting experience, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's on the main stage.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Last season in Season 1, we saw some of his other teammates, Maxed and Jiwa, make it into Premier League to the top 16. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do the same, so I can't help but feel like he's going to have that urge to do really well here because he wasn't able to in Season 1.
I mean, we saw great things from him. A big, I would even say, flash in the pan. About 2 years ago, he was huge on the scene, and then we haven't heard of him much. We're going to find out against this guy right here, Kane,
exactly,
who I would say has a very different approach to the mental side of the game.
Oh yeah, I actually spoke to Kane earlier today and I asked him if there's a specific player that he doesn't want to face. He just said no matter who he faces, he's not nervous. He seemed pretty confident. He said he's going to be happy whether he wins or loses, and that kind of mindset is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the most confidence that you can have in a matchup, the best it's going to be. And if that is being able to be, really cool under pressure, no nerves, that's what you have to do. Go for it. And for Kane right now, he wants to just be relaxed. He wants to be in his element and then play his brand of StarCraft, which is, as we've seen so many times, premier level StarCraft.
Exactly, and then I know that Kane always likes to put on the impression that he wants to have fun, that he doesn't try to predict how he'll do. But that being said, I know that when he did do well in the Season 1 finals, he did start to show those nerves, and I know it does actually mean a lot to him, even though he may come across as being casual. So. That's
right. Now, both of these guys are fighting for not only the prize pool, there's over $200,000 in this prize pool, but there's also WCS points on the docket here. A lot of WCS points basically seeds you into the grand finals. Both these guys are not too up there. I think Kane is affected more than Jim in this case.
Yeah, definitely. Kane having made it to the top 16 finals show in Poitiers, France. It was about, I believe, a little over a month ago, and just him being able to perform well there, he was able to best out Bunny in a very excitable series where a lot of people didn't expect him to do so well. So I know that Kane is a very talented player. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. We'll see what comes out of this first match. I believe we're ready to get it underway. We have some casters ready for you. It'll be Nathanius and Huck.
Thank you very much, Sue. Of course, I'm very excited to be back here for another awesome season of the World Championship Series. Of course, joining me is Chris Loranger. Huck, how are you doing, man?
Great, man. You're my last name again. Jeez, you're so good at it. You're getting better and better every day.
I'm working on it. I think I've proven at Poitiers I'm much better at pronouncing foreign things than even Apollo himself. But how excited are you to come in and commentate some PVZ we've got coming up?
I'm very excited, actually. It's going to be a really interesting match. I mean, Jim, as you know, is kind of, a more cheesy Protoss, but we shall see. Kane's really good at defending two-base all-in, so...
Yeah, Kane had a really easy time in Challenger. He faced a Protoss already, Pilly, and pretty much wiped the floor with him, went straight through 3-0. Of course, you guys can see we have map picks up already. We'll start off on Bonnie Research Station, then moving on to Expedition Lost. What do you think about Jim's vetoes, Cactus Valley and Inferno Pools?
Yeah, in general, the bigger the map, the more macro-oriented it's going to be. So seeing those two vetoes isn't too unusual. Inferno Pools being like one of the most favorited vetoed maps for almost all players in all races. So maybe he's more leaning to that aggressive style, I would think.
Yeah, I'm interested to see that. We saw Kane when he played in the round of 16 in France last season, played against a very aggressive Protoss in the form of Haas, and when you're playing against guys like that, you're mostly focused on defending whatever they're going to throw at you and bringing the counter-attack play. That was something that we put up on Kane's player information when they were doing the nice little camera shots on him, because that's one thing that Kane's really good at. He's really good at holding off the early pressure, even those early Hellbat pushes from Terrans, which we could end up seeing from Bunny later on today if they do match up. It's something that he's strong with. He's clearly in the zone.
Kane's just rocking out, man. And I'm loving
jamming.
the playoff beard, man. It's like the NHL playoffs are going on. He's still got that scruffiness. I guess he won't shave it until he wins or loses.
So. We talked about this before we went live, and I'm like, I really hope now that we just tell him. It's like official WCS rule gets put in. It's like you're actually not allowed to shave as soon as you qualify for Challenger until you're eliminated.
Yeah, it's all about honor. Beard. That's an honor beard, man.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see this matchup, of course. We are loaded into the first game just about, so we'll be starting that very shortly. Of course, Jim, who was eliminated in the round of 32 last season, took a pretty swift bow out to TLO, who claimed, when TLO played against him, he said he was expecting a bit more difficulty, but TLO really didn't have any issue rolling over him whatsoever. So this is a situation where you have top 8 finisher up against round of 32 dropout. Do you favor either one of these players in any particular manner?
I definitely favor Kane. He seems more relaxed. I mean, he's like Taylor Swift up there singing along. He's looking around. He's just having a good old time. Jim seems a lot more serious. Look at that stare, man. That's like the Jadong level death stare.
He doesn't show a lot of emotions.
Who, Jim? Yeah. He has that deathly look. But in general, I just think the more relaxed, the more cool you are, the better you're going to do. I mean, Kane's been on vacation in the last month more than I have been my whole life.
Yeah, and he came off of his vacation to make that top 8 finish last season. So
I just think maybe that's his style. He's like the second coming of Stefano, I guess. You know, the more cool, the more relaxed. I mean, we know he likes to party similar.
Yeah, he's trying to bring that rock star lifestyle in.
Yeah.
I guess it's working pretty well for him so far. He's the best performing, or at least, pretty much the best performing North American player that's been able to make it through WCS so far this year. And exciting to see how far he'll be able to make it. How do you feel both of these players stack up against everyone else in the group? Can these guys beat Bunny or Petraeus?
I don't think Jim can, to be honest. I think he has a shot, obviously, but I think Kane is a lot more favored in this particular group. I think it's going to be a big contention between Kane and Petraeus for the second slot, and I think Bunny's a strong favorite for the first place. I mean,
Bunny was a top 4 finish last season. He's kind of always been on fire.
He's fighting Snoop for the top foreigner spot right now, and it's up to everybody else to prove those two players wrong at this point.
Yeah, he's definitely been doing very well. Petraeus, I think, is probably the guy that maybe is known the least out of like you guys, because Petraeus today will be making his first ever Premier League appearance for WCS. He's someone that's been trying to qualify for quite some time. Been practicing a lot out of Europe in the Mindsanity house. Most of the European players tell me he's basically playing all the time. It's the guy you'll hit on ladder.
Yeah, he's a ladder monster. He's always has been, and now that he's in Europe, I think he's getting better practice. He has a better schedule, probably eating healthier, and the results are finally kicking in. I'm always a player that likes to say, you know, if you practice hard for 6 months, you're gonna reap the benefits of that after the practice. It doesn't just correlate. If you practice really hard for 1 week, it doesn't, you know, necessarily come into play that week. It's about what you did months ago that is going to come into play now. And I think we're starting to see that from Petraeus, and I would expect him to become a stronger and stronger player throughout, you know, the rest of this year and next year.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how the Chinese players stack up coming into this season, as we're just sorting out a few things to get the first game on the way for you guys. But when I think about I looked through some of the results of Jim. At least he hasn't played too many PVZs recently, mostly in online cups. So like to qualify for last season, he took out Tudming, who managed to make his way here through the Chinese Challenger. So he'll actually be playing next week in the studio. But Jim,
I want to do like a staring contest with Jim, man. I can't get over that stare. I think that's the technical
you want
difficulties.
to? I feel like that's like I feel like that's a contest.
I just want to make him giggle,
lose.
man. Like I want to.
You want to try to make him giggle?
Yeah,
draw some emotion out.
Stare, man. I hope people are taking screen caps of that, and I actually hope he makes it out, man. That
just to, have to bring that death stare everywhere.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, it's really weird with in general the Chinese players, the Taiwanese players, because they're so detached. Even Korean players, we see them playing a lot of big things like GSL, Pro League, so we get to see a lot of their games. But
I mean, Jim, Invictus Gaming recently partnered with Prime for Pro League, so Jim is potentially going to be showing up to play some games for them, and
yeah,
the dream is alive.
They're always like, kind of an enigma a little bit, just because we don't see them. Even though they play a lot in that Chinese Cup, the
Lifeng Cup,
Lifeng Cup, and those replays aren't released, the VODs aren't really up, so.
Yeah, it seems we're going to need a little bit more time to sort out this issue, guys, so we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and as soon as we have the game ready to bring to you, we will be right back. We'll be back in just a few minutes. right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series Season 2 Premier League. We are in game number 1. Everything is sorted out, ready to go, Huck. And, well, starting on Vonnie Research Station, we have in the bottom position the red Protoss player representing Invictus Gaming and Prime. He's Jim. And his opponent spawning in the north position, the blue Zerg representing My Insanity and Canada. Give it up for Kane. He's still singing.
Still singing, man. He is just chilling.
What would you jam out to if you were, do you do that?
I listen to music, yeah. I think most professional players listen to music. I listen to anything fast-paced, like
Fast,
EDM.
like high BPM stuff.
Yeah, but I'm thinking Taylor Swift, man.
Probably.
Yeah, he seems like a Taylor Swift kind of guy.
That's becoming like the esports anthems. Just that uppity. It's uppity, it's fast, happy, I guess it works. Oh, he's going to go for the...
This is why I hate this map. Not because it's like imbalanced or anything, it's just really, really tricky to play against a gold-based Zerg. You don't really know where you're at a lot of point in the games. And it's going to be hard for Jim if he's not going to scout. It looks like he's going for Nexus first, actually.
So by opting for this opener, he doesn't have any ability to punish this base, does he?
Not for a while. So Kane, I think when Kane scouts this, he'll be pretty happy. But then again, taking a risk and going Nexus first is really greedy itself. So both players playing like really, really greedy, and it's just going to be how well they recognize, you know, each other's builds, because they're both kind of in the dark right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Overlord will be the first thing to see based on what is he looking for, like the cybernetics core timing or the gas. He'll know that it's the Nexus first as soon as he gets into his base.
Yeah, he'll see the gateway or he'll see the gas and he'll know what's going on. But Jim's going to be a little bit more in the dark. It's going to take him a little bit more time to go to the natural, and then even after he sees the naturals empty, he's going to, you know, wonder, okay, did he take my gold base? Did he take his gold base? Is there a hatchery somewhere in my base?
I guess there's a lot of different ways that people play these styles as Zerg players too. Because we've seen
a
some
lot of
Zergs.
proxy hatches lately, right outside the third base, and then they do like a spine rush. I think we saw that in GSL. Oh, he actually catches the drones, so he should know exactly what's up right now.
We even saw True bust that out against Patience and DreamHack last weekend. So a lot of Zerg players across the board have been going for gold base build, but not all of them have to be all-ins. A lot of them take this base and just use it to accelerate their mid-game when they take the third outside their main as well. So there's a lot of different ways for them to play this. What do you expect to see from Jim, and what do you think like, actually helps against a gold-based strategy?
He has to catch Kane off guard, I feel. Kane has a slight advantage. He could always just take his own third base and defend. It's really up to Kane how he uses the extra minerals he's going to have. Because once again, he doesn't have to build as many workers, and he can definitely tech up quicker. So it's just going to come down to what kind of game Kane wants to play. If Jim tries to take a quick third base, he's going to have to make the decision. Do I try to bust this? Do I just tech up myself? It's a game agreed right now.
Yeah, because that's what happened in Kane's matchup. I recall it was like PvZ. It might have been Kane versus Pili, where he tried to take that third base reasonably early, and then Kane was just able to punish it. He got on top of the sentries, prevented it before the cannon got up, and everything kind of snowballed out of control in Kane's favor at that point. So it's something that Jim needs to take into account. He's going to open up Stargate. We see a lot of the Chinese players have historically liked Stargate openings for either Phoenix or fast Oracle into Phoenix. But Kane's going to scout this really fast.
He saw the pylon placement with his first Overlord, so he immediately knows, and he does the smart thing. This is like a small little part of it that makes it really cool, is that Kane sees the Stargate, but he doesn't show Jim that he saw it. He pulled the Overlords back, so he's letting Jim think, okay, he doesn't know about the Stargate. I can make an Oracle, I can make a Void Ray, I can do some kind of all-in, but he's deceiving his opponent while knowing exactly what he's doing.
And that's really interesting because the Overlord is still in a position where if whatever comes out of the Stargate is rallied straight to his base, then the Overlord will immediately see that as well. And he should be able to see what's being built. And it's going to be a fast Phoenix. So with this, he can clear away the Overlords. Can he use this aggressively, or do you imagine he takes a third base with it?
I would think he'd take a third base. I think if he's going to be more aggressive, he would have already put down gateways, and he wouldn't have taken so many gases like at his natural.
Yeah. He just started his Forge too, so upgrades are going to be far off.
Yeah. Jim probably playing the most conservative. I think Phoenix are the most conservative thing. The meta's kind of shifted since Swarmhost got changed. Protoss are kind of opening up Phoenixes more and more, because the biggest threat to catch Protoss off guard, where they can do like, you know, kind of auto lose a game, is when 10, 11, 12 mutas fly into your base, you lose half of your worker line, and then you're dead. By opening Phoenix, you already negate mutas to a certain degree, and you have a lot of scouting, you have a lot of capability just to outplay your opponent. So, I mean, I'm surprised at this, to be honest. I feel like Jim's like not playing into his standard super strong 2-base timing, and he might actually play a normal macro game.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where exactly he goes with it, because he's making that quick switch into the robotics facility, getting +1 attack. So this could be a Phoenix opening into, you know, ye old standard Colossus with eventually Blink Stalkers mixed in, and just being safe against everything like a switch and potentially to quick Hydralisks. And really all Kane's done off of this gold base, aside from need less workers to get the same amount of income, is get really good creep spread too. He's already pushing the tower at 8 minutes with his creep tumors.
Yeah, it's one of the most interesting factors of when viewing really good Zerg players, because they all value creep spread to a certain degree. You know, Scarlet being like an absolute beast, Kane being definitely someone that prioritizes it a lot. For me personally, as a professional Protoss player, it's really scary whenever you step on creep. I mean, even you, I'm sure, as a Terran, you step on creep, there's a certain amount of fear there.
Because the Zerg will, if you haven't killed the tumors, the Zerg sees you as soon as you're on the creep.
And, you know, all their units are going to get quicker, you're going to get surrounded faster, you're going to get caught out of position. So it's a scary thing for me, and Kane's so far doing a marvelous job of spreading that creep. And on top of that, Jim really doesn't have any options at this point to clear it. Yeah,
I mean, at this point, the Phoenix alone aren't going to be able to do anything about it. He spotted all 3 bases. He knows that the pocket natural has been left. But he's grabbing a few drones here and there off to the side. Do you feel he's dealing a substantial amount of damage for his opener? Is it worth?
So far, Jim's been playing pretty well. I wish he took kind of a quicker third base, but all in all, he's kept the energy on his Phoenix pretty low. He hasn't lost any workers. He's teching up. You know, he just hasn't taken any damage, and he's done potentially as much damage as he could with the Phoenix. It's going to start getting a little interesting when Kane's going to bring a little bit more aggression back to his opponent.
Yeah, I mean, he's putting out a reasonable number of roaches. His roach speed is done. He has Ling speed. He starts the Spire as his +1 attack gets close to finishing, so the option is there for some form of Muta play or perhaps an anticipation of Colossus Corruptors. But I think this is where he's going to try to make a move on that third base. He's moving up with the Lings and the roaches. He's going to try to focus down the cannon. He only has 3 sentries. Is this enough?
I really don't. It's gonna be really hard for Jim to hold this, and I think he knows that, and he's going to pull back a little bit. The Void Ray helps a lot just because it gives you... It always makes the Zerg have to question whether to come out. Instead of engaging with the ground units, that Void Ray is always there and it's uncontested.
Yeah, it's really tricky because Jim didn't really lose a whole lot, but Kane's actually marched his Queens across the map with this. He really wants to end this. I guess the Queens are a reasonable way of dealing with the Void Ray. They're going to
take a while to get there.
With the creep spread to the tower, though, off the gold base, he's like managed to find a weird way to use that even more.
Yeah, it feels like Kane's definitely a lot more prepared in this scenario than Jim. Jim really didn't have the cannons or the defense to take that third base, but as time goes on, he's in a really tough position because he knows if he doesn't take a third base, he's gonna fall way too far behind. Yeah. So he kind of has to force the scenario right now, and it's a make or break to a certain degree.
He denies the third base. Yeah, he denied it again, and Jim is running out of sentry energy. That one Colossus standing on top of the army. There he goes. He prismatic aligns the Void Rays. But even if he doesn't die, like if he just buys as much time as possible, he needs the third base to actually take this game.
Yeah. Otherwise, he's just going to be really behind going into the mid late game. You know, Kane's taking losses, but is it worth it? I mean, he's losing, you know, a few roaches here and there, but behind this, he's on a really strong economy. His creep continues to spread. He's teching up to Corruptors.
Even getting melee upgrades for those Zerglings, and potentially looking at the late game for possible Broodlords.
Yeah, I feel like Kane's in a lot better position, but we'll see. I mean, Jim definitely has options, and he definitely has the units he needs to make things happen.
Yeah, these Queens are being picked up. They have a lot of energy to transfuse each other, so it's just trading energy from the Phoenix. I do believe he should be able to kill all the Queens off eventually. The Corruptors are starting to come out, though, so I guess he's got backup.
Yeah, the timing works really well for Kane. 3 or 4 Queens is enough he needed to defend the Phoenix and the Void Ray, and just when he gets enough air, Corruptors are coming into play, and he's going to have a really, really hard time defending this.
Yeah, Kane jumps on top of this third base once again. Now he's actually focusing down on the army, not targeting that Nexus anymore. The Corruptors are being focused by the Void Rays, though, and even with the transfuses, the Queens are not able to save them, so the Colossus is still alive. He still has a couple of Void Rays in the Phoenix, so a pretty reasonable hold from Jim. He's potentially going to get that third base up at last, Huck, at close to 14 minutes.
That was a beautiful engage by the Protoss. He hit force fields perfectly. He targeted on the Corruptors. He had the overcharge on the Void Rays. It lifted up all the key units. But at the same time, will it be enough?
Has Kane, well, do you think it was a little bit hasty by Kane, or is he far enough ahead that it's not really a concern for him?
It definitely evened out the game more, but I feel like Kane still has a slight advantage. But you know, Jim's continuously built workers. He's upgrading himself on his units, and Kane's not at Hive Tech or anything, you know?
Yeah,
he doesn't have that contingency plan that he needed.
I was going to say, the Colossus Void Ray is not something that has been employed, or at least that I've seen a whole lot of lately. It's more old school-ish, at least old school Heart of the Swarm. But without Hive Tech, without the ability to abduct these expensive units, like this army should handle itself quite well against just regular Roach Ling or even Roach Hydra.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't, as long as he knows there's no Hive, Jim has all the keys that he needs right now, you know? Like Colossus, Void Ray, Force Field, that's all you need up against layer tech, whether it's Roach, Hydra, Corruptors, Mutas even, he still has the Phoenix, he still has the Stargate in play, so he's really not worried. He's actually very content in this position as long as Kane doesn't get too greedy, or as long as Kane doesn't get that Hive. And just as I say that, Kane is starting to think about teching up to Hive.
Yeah, the Infestation Pit is close to completing. Now Jim can push out a little bit, try to knock down some of these tumors as well, because his creep spread has definitely opened up doors for Kane to very quickly counterattack, were Jim to make any type of push without an observer. But he does need to be careful, because this is where Kane could try to slip a couple of units by. He knows where the army is as he steps on that creep. He's pushing out towards the tower. There's not really much to fight over here, though. Time warps. There's the overcharge again, and Kane just going to try to hit this army with a really big arc. The force fields are blocking off a reasonable number of the units, but it looks like most of the Colossi are still alive. You see, he still has 3 Colossi. Maybe one of them dies, but Jim just absolutely annihilates this army.
He had enough Void Rays. I mean, he's continuously adding Void Rays slowly but surely to his army, and Kane just keeps making Roach, Corruptor, armored units that are going to get shredded.
You think Kane was expecting some sort of more gateway-based push? I mean, he saw the Colossi, the first Colossus, like a long time ago, too.
Yeah, I think we all did. I think most people saw Jim and they said, you know what, 2 base all in, some gateway timing, that's what's going to happen. And Jim, knowing that about himself, he portrays that image, and now he's playing a normal macro game. He played nothing but defensive the whole game, and now he has this large advantage against Kane. Anytime the Protoss is ahead of in supply against Zerg, generally they're ahead. Add to that it's a Roach army, you bet your butt.
Yeah, it's not an army that's going to be very, very effective against this. He even has that Immortal to anchor down if he tries to run on top of him with the Roaches. That will give him a lot of extra damage. His +2 attack is close to completing. He has Blink now, so he can warp in Stalkers that can help buffer for those Colossi. And this is...
Jim's being really very patient, too. He's waiting for his +2. It's about to finish, and he's going to take this engage.
Yeah, he overcharges the Void Rays, once again doing a phenomenal job. +2 completing during this fight. And he doesn't have anything that can deal with the Colossi. Absolutely nothing that can kill the Colossi for Kane. 3 of them will kill absolutely everything, and GG is called. Jim is going to take game number 1. After a pretty solid start for Kane, I felt, in that game, denying the 3rd base reasonably well. He got away with the gold, but didn't make any tech switches to anticipate what Jim could have actually been building up for, even though he took a late 3rd.
Yeah, I felt like Kane did everything he needed to early game, but it just, in the mid game, he didn't really have a longer plan. I think he felt Jim was going to just keep being aggressive. He's waiting for that aggression, kept closing down that 3rd base, and then it never came. And Jim slowly but surely added, Void Rays from 1 Stargate and Colossus from 1 Robo, and then he just stayed on Roach Corruptor.
Yeah, it's really tricky, I guess, for the Zerg player, because you have such a long map. He had the creep spread, like he could move around very quickly. I think gateway push would have been the worst thing that he could do. And we see, like, Kane made, I felt a lot of really good moves here. He came in, he denied the 3rd base several times, and he opened up a lot of opportunities.
2 or 3 Roaches too the whole time. He's like not losing anything. He's wasting force field energy. Yeah. I mean, it's only positive for Kane here, but
he just never made. There was no real follow-up to the pushes that he was doing at that point.
Yeah.
And next map is going to be Expedition Lost.
The hoodie comes off too.
Oh my God! Kane's serious now.
Yeah, like he's not singing anymore, man. He's
he's
ready.
Sweating.
He's ready.
That's well, are we going to see another gold base this map? Is what I'm curious about.
He doesn't want to lose that beard, man. He wants to keep it.
And keep the beard dream alive.
Jim not looking so serious too. Maybe he's calmed down. And, I saw him as soon as he got into that game. He wasn't doing the death stare anymore. He kind of relaxed.
Yeah. Maybe Jim's secretly just like the biggest baller out of all of us here. He knows, like, oh, I know that camera's gonna be looking at me before the game starts. I give him the death stare.
Get that good image going. Get that Jade on. That Tyrant.
He's going for that look. But yeah, any thoughts on PvZ on Expedition Lost? I mean, the back rocks are always the big...
always comes into it and comes into play. I personally like to open up Forge on this map just because of the gold base. And then at the same time, like, proxy hatcheries once again on this map. You do it right by the rocks, you break down the rocks, you have a few spines,
a lot of
creep spread in there.
Against both Protoss and Terran these days.
So the rocks are the biggest question mark on this map. I would expect some kind of weird element. Even in mid game, Zerg having a lot of Roach Ling, you threaten the back. They gotta build gateways. They got to wall it off. They have to have cannons. They got to have a sentry. It's a lot of investment for Protoss to hold those back rocks. But at the same time, an Immortal Wallet. Yeah,
it can be equally useful in those situations with lots of places you can force field. We are currently loading in to map number 2 here. This is our nice to be back here doing Season 2 for World Championship Series. We had a really nice Season 1 finish. Those of you guys that are tuning in, if you haven't been following too closely, we're going to be finishing things up with Group B tomorrow. Then next weekend we'll do Group C and D. Then Europe's going to finish off the last 4 groups of the round of 32. And the round of 16 is going to be played out in Toronto.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Your hometown, Huck?
Yeah.
Would you consider it your hometown?
Yeah. I relate as a Canadian.
This is the part where I find out you're... Well, you know, because Canada's pretty big. So it's like I'm just immediately assuming that you're from that one place on the east side.
No, that's where I'm from.
Okay. All right. Didn't want to botch that. We're loaded in to game number 2. It's Expedition Lost in the bottom left position. The red Protoss currently up 1-0. It's Invictus Gaming's Jim. And he faces off against the Canadian Zerg in the Northeast, representing Team My Insanity. He's Kane.
I think he changed songs, man. It doesn't look like Taylor Swift. Those eyebrows.
He's busted angrier. He's busted out his rap.
Like DMX or something.
Yeah.
He's going hard on it.
He's trying to get a different vibe going for this game. I'm keeping my eyes on any drones that could potentially leave his base.
I don't think Kane would be the type of player that goes for the hatch, the spine rush, but I could definitely see him moving for
just
that gold
taking the
base.
center gold.
Yeah.
I mean, it does give you a lot if you can do it without being punished. You know, even just looking at the creep spread that he got, all other things not even being considered, having the creep spread pushed out that far early on, even if Jim wanted to be aggressive, where are you going to put a pylon if you want to try to reinforce? You know, especially since a lot of those early gateway pushes are sans robo.
Yeah, and the gold bases on this map particularly are a lot closer. It looks like Jim's gonna go for what, a Nexus first again? Wow.
He's feeling brave.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by this. It's definitely a big risk. I mean, if he was playing Life, who makes a fast pull every other game, he'd be in trouble. But maybe he studied Kane. He saw that he doesn't really do that many early pulls. It's like, you know, it's a calculated risk for him, but it's paying off so far.
Yeah, Kane actually checks the back of his main for proxies. He opens the spawning pool. He does not want to get into that awkward position where it's like, oh, I'm down 0-1, and then the guy just cheeses me, and now all of a sudden I'm looking at elimination in the lower match. So a later hatchery, I feel this has to work out in Jim's favor, right? Like, he can't get lings. It's difficult to get lings across the map in time to be a real big pain for this.
No, definitely the build order advantage definitely goes to Jim. He actually scouts for the gold base too. It's just, I don't know, man. Jim has the drop on Kane a little bit, build order wise. He seems to understand his opponent a lot more, and more importantly, Jim understands the image he portrays to his opponents, and he's using that to his advantage, taking 2 Nexus first builds in the first 2 games. And something that also comes into play after winning that first game as a pro, you have that mind advantage, and you're willing to take, you know, you can do something more risky in game 2, whether that is a cheese or you're playing a greedy again. And he feels, you know, confident, you know, he can take that risk, he can go Nexus first, and he has a decent advantage.
So just to kind of pick your brain a little bit, Hawk, with the Nexus first opening, as someone who's known for being aggressive, based on any other way that he could have started, what advantage does the Nexus first give him, over a gateway opening, when his opponents think he'll be aggressive?
He'll just have a stronger mid game.
From the extra money, from the
he'll
extra
have he can take a third base quicker. He can do an Immortal all-in quicker. He'll have a Stargate quicker. Just in general, his economy is going to be a lot better. So that propels him into the mid game.
Yeah, it pushes everything else forward.
Yeah, everything. Whatever option he does eventually take, it'll be better.
What about this 1 gas right now? Most Protosses will take 2 as that gateway's on the way, but he's just sitting on 1 assimilator.
Makes it think, and the chrono boost to the warp gate tech makes it seem like it might be a very strong 2 base. There's a really strong 7 to 8 gate build. I mean, personally,
I was going to say, I feel like you're the best person for me to ask about that here.
I mean, it's me and Hitman on NA, man. We're loving this so far. He builds 2 Zealots, and he's not really scouting that much. And notice the probe at the top left of the map, too. He didn't fully scout his opponent. He didn't want to know his opponent that he has that probe out on the map, right?
Yeah.
And now he's just hiding it, and he's letting it be there. And if he can get a pylon out, at this point, it doesn't even matter if Kane necessarily knows exactly what's going on. If he can get up a good amount of gateways, and he can get a close pylon, with the Nexus first, you're just going to have this super strong economy. And the Stalker is going to deny this Zergling as well.
Yeah, he has no extra information. At this point in the game, if Jim wasn't going for an aggressive build, would he have taken these gases? Can Kane know for sure based on this what's coming?
Yes. If he gets to that main base and he sees the one gas only still, then he should know. But Jim's being very cute right now because he takes the extractor to the right of the Overlord at his natural.
Oh, he takes the one gas that can be seen.
Look, I'm taking this gas. I'm teching up. That's what he's trying to tell Kane right now. But does Kane know? Is he falling for that?
Yeah,
is he thinking he's teching up? Because he's doing this
dirty.
really.
He's got 6 gateways coming in, Hawk. This is going to be a massive assault. And he's still... Does he have the other probe? Okay, he only has... Okay, the one that he has now is with his army. He's placing the first pawn at the gold. So he's just setting up to, I guess, just try to kill him.
Yeah, and because he went Nexus first, Kane knows right now. He recognizes what's going on, but can he get enough units out in time? Because Jim is committed. He's walling off his
only
natural.
halfway done. I mean, catches a couple of these zealots, but even
zealots
these
against
bad boys-
Zerglings, it's not that bad for Jim.
Yeah. Well, if he gets around the Stalkers before the extra Warpins come in, that'd be nice, but here they come. Oh, this is where things get really tricky. Good positioning on these forces. Maybe he gets this Stalker. Could actually get both of them before the big Warpins come by.
The pylons in the mineral field adding so much protection, though. You know, he's got that locked down. He can warp in if he wants to, and at the same time, you know, his economy is not that bad. Look at home. It's 36 workers to 32.
We do finally have roaches coming in for Kane now. He has to be very mindful of making sure he doesn't get supply blocked as he's quite close to his cap. He's got 2 more Overlords coming in, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Going for the counter with these Lings. He wants to force defensive Warpins, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and kill pylons if he can, but it's not really worth it. I mean, he can't do much with a full wall there. And once again, like, 36 workers against 32, he has a better economy right now, Jim does.
Yeah.
As he warps in.
So does he need to push, or does he just need to keep forcing Kane to build units?
He can just, he can slowly but surely probe up at home and just keep warping in.
And there's
it's not a problem for
There's
him.
so many zealots in here. Like I feel like the Zerglings are going to have an almost impossible time clearing this army out.
And once you get a certain number like this, you can't really surround that many zealots. Because
Yeah.
it's just a wall, no matter what.
It's just a cheese grater for all those Zerglings. He tries to run the Lings behind to grab the Stalkers, which is somewhat reasonable, but they all get annihilated, and the Roaches are not going to be enough against this many forces. So too many zealots left over.
Off creep too. He's just going to get chased down.
Yeah, was he a bit overzealous trying to grab this army?
Yeah, I think Kane he got scared, and he didn't know what position he was at, you know? He wants to drone, he wants to make army, but he needs to know what he needs to, what he needs to commit to.
Yeah.
So he wanted to force that engage to know where he's at, but now, once again, he's still down 4 workers, he's got a smaller army, he's building roaches against, what?
Yeah, breaking this
How many zealots are there?
Yeah,
16 zealots.
Yeah, breaking this is going to be borderline impossible. The Zerglings try to go for that surround on the Stalkers once again. He manages to grab a few of them. He's got the Roaches and the Queens up front by the natural, but the backbone of zealots for this army is just way too strong. He still has the Stalkers in the back to keep poking with what little gas income he has, and the Queens are coming down, but they're also getting annihilated. And I think Jim's going to push up here and take this game, Hawk.
What a build.
Yeah.
What a, like,
he
the
sold
gateway
it really
timings,
well,
man. Like,
yeah.
I love it.
Gateway
I love
timings.
it. The dirty gateway timings.
Oh, I'm so glad to cast this game with you, Hawk. only you could appreciate this the proper way. He's going to push in here. There's not much left for Kane, and it looks like Jim is going to take a pretty quick 2-0 here to...
surprisingly.
Yeah,
very surprisingly.
To finish up. But Kane showed really good preparation for aggressive Protoss play in last season of WCS. But for this first series, he had a good start to game 1, and then everything snowballed out of control. Drones being pulled off the line. But with this many zealots... Yeah, he's going to keep warping in, keep trying to push him back. But Kane's taken massive worker losses. Even if he was somehow able to kill this army, I feel like Jim's in a position where he could transition if he really wanted to.
Yeah, he's up 16 workers. Desperation is a stinky cologne, and I can smell it from here, even though they're way behind us. Yeah. It's just, it's over at this point, man. Yeah. No false caster hype here. He needs to get out of this game real quick. It's going to be interesting, though, how Kane sets himself up. I mean, I'm sure he's going to figure out that it was 2 Nexus first. And
yeah, I think the replays would be very useful for Kane in this scenario. Because there's a couple of things that if he, like, sacrifices the Overlord to see that second gas in the main.
Yeah, Jim was smart, though, you know? He faked the... Oh, sad face, too. GG sad face. What do you think about that, Nathanius?
That's very sad. As Jim does take the 2-0 to start things off here for Premier League for Season 2 of the World Championship Series. And it's got to be a nice start for Jim coming in here.
He looks happier too.
Yeah, he's gone from Death Stare to slight, just regular stare. So he's going to be facing off against the winner of our next series, which will be Bunny and Petraeus. But overall, pretty solid play from Jim. Kind of
surprisingly
playing into
his image,
as you said, the image.
Yeah, he just. He went Nexus first 2 games in a row. No one expects that, and Kane definitely didn't expect that himself. And now he's in the winners match. He has he can still take risks.
He's
He
got the
has that.
safety. He's got the safety
Yeah,
of if he were to lose, then he still has the final match.
And I don't know who he'd rather play against. Bunny, I feel like he'd rather play against Betrayus. Feels like his PVZ is on point right now.
I think the way that he plays, like the way that especially the Chinese players, like their styles go, I think I like it more for PVZ than PVT because Phoenix Colossus is very hit or miss, and that's pretty much all these guys do against Terran.
True that.
Man, it's definitely something that could get tricky because I imagine that Bunny also took that into consideration. It's a style that you can play towards more as a Terran than I think a Zerg can play towards Jim.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to know how much they practiced for Jim too, because I saw him as the weakest player in this group, and I think the people in the group did too. Yeah. But all of a sudden now he's in the winner's match. He 2-0'd Kane. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see it coming, man.
Well, let's hear Jim's thoughts as we have him up on the main stage with Smix.
Thank you very much, Nathanius. Congratulations, Jim. What a great start to the day with a 2-0 over Kane. It just seemed in general you were very prepared against Kane, especially in that second match. You came with the 2 base 1 gas push, seemed very, very well prepared. Did you do that specifically knowing Kane's style?
就是说你那个第二盘用了那个2基地单气，然后一波的7兵人 rush。在这之前，你是否有研究过那个看的那个，就是他的一个游戏比赛的一个风格？
我并没有研究吧，因为我是顺手就用起了这个战术，因为我以为我的那个野的那个农民可能不会被发现，结果被发现了，我当时有点慌，因为如果不被发现的话，野出来那根水晶的话，我觉得这个战术很猛。
Okay, actually I didn't. Research for Kane's style, and I just think this strategy is very strong, and I let all my hopes on my first probe. Okay, if I do the first pylon, maybe I can win faster, but I think Kane find out what I'm doing, and he used his juggling find my probe. So, yeah, I'm maybe a little nervous, but because this strategy is very strong, and I take it.
All right, well, you started the day off with a very strong win. Edison, when I spoke to you earlier, you mentioned that this game would be very important for Jim, as he is a younger player. So now that you've won your first match in the group, how confident does this make you going into the rest of your games today?
就是他之前有跟我聊过嘛，我跟他说那个你是否能够把第一场比赛拿下来，其实对你整体来说挺关键，因为你挺年轻的一名选手。那么现在你拿下了这场比赛，那么你觉得对于后面的比赛来说，你是不是更加有自信了呢？
我觉得是的吧，因为之前每一次过来打线下，我都是上来就输，然后结果就是马上就接着输。我觉得这种气势来了的话，我觉得我应该很有机会出线。
Okay, I think definitely yes, because you know, last 2 times I come here, I always lose the first game, and then I just lose. I feel I can't play anymore. I don't even trust my my play style, my practice. But and then today, I win the first game. I think I can advance to round 16. Yeah.
Speaking of the round of 16, in Season 1, we saw your teammates, actually, Jigua and Maxed, make it to the finals. I know that you weren't able to do that, but you must really want to get there. How much would it mean to you to be able to get to the top 16 and do well here today?
就是之前那个上赛季的话，那个马赛和西花他们不是进了16强嘛，但你没有进嘛。那么这次，如果能进16强，对你来说意味着什么？
如果能进16强的话，我觉得就意味着我最近应该就是要不停的练习去争取，就是打得更好。我希望如果能进16强，我的目标会更远。
Okay, I think if I go to the round 16. That means I need to practice more and more because if I do join the round 16, then my score is maybe it's like a round 4 or maybe the champion. Yeah.
Oh wow! Very confident words from our player Jim, and congratulations again on winning your first match of the day. And of course, thank you very much to Edison to help translate. Guys, let us know what your thoughts were on that first series of the day. Hashtag WCS on Facebook and Twitter. And also make sure to show some love for our sponsor G1 Gaming for making all of this possible. We're going to head to a quick commercial break, but when we come back, it'll be Denmark versus New Zealand, Bunny versus Patreus, so stay tuned.